Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Joint Henley and Huxton Neighbourhood Plan Review. Item 1, apologies for absence. I have Councillor Glenn Lambert. Sorry? Yeah, apologies.
Yeah, Rebecca.
Rebecca Charles
And
and Councillor McLean. Yeah, Glenn Lambert. Okay. I don't have anybody else. Item 2, declarations of interest. Does anybody have any interest on any items on the agenda this afternoon? See none. Item 3, public question times. There's a chance for members of the public or others to either ask questions or give statements on any item on the agenda today. I would like to give you a name and address if anybody wishes to speak. Gentleman at the front.
Yes, afternoon, Chair. My name is Douglas Bond from Wolf Bond Planning.
Okay.
What my address is?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
And I'm here to speak in relation to a site called Crossways at Lower Ship.
Thank you. Off you go.
Oh, right, okay. Right. Good afternoon, Chair, members. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. As I said, I'm here to promote the benefits of the Crossways site at Lower Ship. You will be aware that your neighbourhood plan needs to prepare in conformity with the adopted local plan and the NPPF. The current draft of the neighbourhood plan allocates Highlands Farm, a greenfield site within the AONB, for 110 dwellings. This, by any definition, comprises major development. Consistent with the framework, a major development allocation such as this requires exceptional circumstances to be proven, together with a demonstration of a public interest. The local plan policy, ENB1, is also clear that the highest protection will be given to the AONB, and any development will only be permitted where it conserves and, where possible, enhances the scenic beauty of the AONB. Development of a greenfield AONB site cannot pass these policy tests. The Chilterns AONB board objection to the neighbourhood plan also reaffirms.
Can I just stop you there? Are you going to speak on behalf of all Crossways?
Yes,
or
coming
Highlands Farm?
back, sir. Yeah.
I gathered you may well be, but you've only got about 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, no, don't worry. So finally, the local plan also notes that the neighbourhood plans, when considering sites within an AONB, a landscape and visual impact assessment should be undertaken. As I understand it, no such assessment exists to support this allocation. Therefore, in policy terms, this allocation cannot pass the necessary conformity tests of soundness. Policy is clear, opportunities beyond the AONB should be explored instead. The proposal of Crossways for 11 dwellings beyond the AONB should be one such opportunity. Sites being found by ACON will consult us to constitute an infill within the definition set out in the local plan policy 16. As a result, it can come forward consistent with the local plan. The 11 dwelling scheme is sensitive to the characteristics of the area, which are changing to the neighbouring Thames Farm and Mount Ida developments. The lower density and more spacious nature of the scheme allows a workable on-site solution for surface water drainage that is different to the ongoing issues at Thames Farm. Proposal will deliver much needed affordable homes. The important tree belt along the Reading Road will be retained and added to, and finally the site is well contained by surrounding development, both existing and committed, on all sides, and lies in a sustainable location. This allocation will not either harm the character of the area or neighbouring residential properties. As a result, I would invite the committee to add this site to this small but sensitive and proportionate allocation within the neighbourhood plan. Thank you very much for It's happy to take any questions.
Hold on a minute. Can you just confirm, has a plan application already been refused on that site?
For
20 houses. Yeah.
And the proposal for 11 is sought to respond to those.
And do you think the reasons for refusal have been overcome by what you're proposing now?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Right, anybody else like to ask any questions on what Mr. Bond has presented? Councillor Clark.
Saying the water problem with Thames Farm, as your development is next door to it, you're going to have the same problems with the water.
Yes, the solution that we have, because it's a lower density scheme, has more open space and therefore the ability that surface water issue to be mitigated on site exists, unlike the more dense proposal with less open space in Thames Farm. And that was a problem with the 20-unit scheme on our side. By reducing it to 11, it was creating more open space and the ability to have an on-site pond that ensures that we don't have the issues with the neighbouring Thames Farm development.
Yeah, but I think you'll find you'll still have subsidence under the ground, the same as Thames Farm.
We are not having to drill through the like Thames Farm, those issues should not arise with our much lower density scheme.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Let's come up to item 6 if anybody wishes to discuss that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
It's Marcus Lambert from Consulting.
Yeah.
Regarding site X in Deansville Avenue.
Okay, thank you.
We were here a couple of weeks ago. And
Could I just, sorry, can I stop you there? You did send a 3-page letter.
Yes.
You asked me to read the letter out.
I was just going to make reference to it.
Okay, that's fine. Don't make reference to it. I did circulate it to all members of the committee, so they've all had the chance to read the letter, rather than me read it out for 10 minutes. Okay, so everybody's seen the letter.
That's very good. Thank you. Yeah, the point I was going to make was, coming from the meeting 2 weeks ago, there was various points that were arising I wanted to clarify. Number one being that, my clients have gone to the trouble of providing a robust needs assessment for a care home on this site, in line with the ACOM allocation. And it does say that if the need can be demonstrated, then it is suitable and appropriate in policy terms. Now, we haven't heard back from Oxfordshire County Council, other than they said there's no need for a care home up to 2022, which is next year. But we are suggesting one being required by 2027, with a view to securing planning permission in late 2023. So the point we're asking is, if Oxfordshire County Council isn't going to advise you as to whether this is suitable and robust and evident, because this place has to be an evidence-based process, and if they're not going to do it, who is going to provide that evidence for you? That's number one. Number two is, we have heard from this committee 2 weeks ago and the committee October last year that suggestion from some members that no one wants a care home in Henley, and there is no need for a care home in Henley. And yet, when I've asked for that to be substantiated, nothing's ever been coming forward from your officers as to how they've come to that position, or give us an opportunity to explore it or counter it. 2 weeks ago when we met, Jodie Rhymes did say to the committee that this site is not deliverable. It's neither available nor viable for 23 dwellings in the plan within this plan period. And she did say that you're either to agree a C2 allocation for a care home in light of the submitted needs assessment, or not to allocate the site and remove it from the plan. Despite this, the committee, when we met 2 weeks ago, said we'll just roll over what we had said previously, that it would be for 23 dwellings, which I don't understand how that has come about. it's all, it's imperative that this is a, evidence-based, collaborative process, and it has to follow due process. So I don't see how the committee could just come to that position. And then lastly, with regard to the minutes of last week, it was seemed to sort of be glossing over everything we said at our presentation, just saying, well, if there's emerging data, we might push it back to the next plan review. And the point we're trying to make here is that your neighbourhood plan is going to be made in 2022 for the next 5 years. And we're talking about opening a care home in 2027 within that plan period. And we will need to secure a planning permission in late 2023 to be able to design it, build it, and open the doors by that time for a 56-bed care. So the point we're trying to make is that we have provided the supporting evidence now for the next 5-year plan period. So you're adopting in 2022 for the next 5 years. So this is the clarification, if you wouldn't mind coming back on those.
Right. I did speak with both the officers before the meeting, and they've agreed to draft a letter, and then I'll look at it and then send it to you, hopefully by the end of the week, definitely by Monday next week, because full council will be meeting as a full council next Tuesday to obviously adopt all these items then, so you'll have another chance next Tuesday to come forward. I wasn't going to say anything, but I've got a new number of papers here in defence of what the neighbourhood, and obviously Kath doesn't want me to speak, I'm going to. And I've got a number of papers here which I could refer to. I'm not going to refer to all of them because there's enough evidence, I feel, here that what we've done is correctly. And I go back to 2017 when all this started up. And we set up so many different groups to look at, surgeries, hospitals, I've got a list of them here. Another one of them was obviously care homes. We looked at care homes, and we spent a lot of time going all through that. And we've got the figures here, and I'll ask Jodie to refer to them when she writes to you. I think we've done sufficient. We've got sufficient evidence to hear to show that we don't wish to see any more care homes at this moment in time, but probably even up to 2027. And Jo Clark was exactly correct what she said, and I'm sure if you went into town now and asked people if you would prefer to build a care home or build affordable houses, I guarantee 99% of the people would say I'd build affordable houses. We have sufficient evidence in here in all our papers which will go to the examiner. It doesn't go to an inspector, it goes to an examiner. And I feel we've got sufficient evidence in all these documents here that will support this committee's view, or the council's view, Harpsome Parish Council, and also Henley Town Council's view on what we've come up with. As I say, I could go through all these documents and refer to them, but I'll leave them to Jodie and Kath to refer to your 4 questions, and they will get back to you in writing with answers to those 4 questions. Okay.
Lee Wood, I'm a director of the NF Council here a couple of weeks ago. Just to follow up on a couple of those points, though, we have been requesting to see this information for years now, and it hasn't been forthcoming. So we would very much.
Sorry, what information?
Well, we were aware that you've done these sort of studies a few years ago, and we have requested it on numerous occasions to see that. So it would be very welcome if that could be shared with us. I was going to sort of reiterate some of the points that Mark's made, but I think he's done a good job, so I don't really need to. But the point that I would like to make is that, from our point of view, the site will be unavailable for the next 5 years because, as you were aware, we bought it back in 2015 before the neighbourhood plan, the draft neighbourhood plan even existed at the time. And the intention has always been to develop it as a care home. We still believe that there is a need for that, looking ahead at the forecasts. So from our point of view, although we put it in writing to Jodie, I just wanted to make you aware on behalf of B&M Care that the site will remain unavailable for the next 5-year period. So whether or not you could then confirm back to us in due course that that would therefore mean that it would have to come out of the neighbourhood plan if it can't be allocated for C2 use. I think it's.
Look, that's a decision you have to make. At the end of the day, I think we will make our decision around this table on what we prefer. I remember when all this started, when we did all the interviews going back, I think Douglas Bond was there, when we did all the interviews going back about a year or so ago. My first question was to all the developers and landowners, what can you offer Henley and Harpsome in what you were proposing? And he mentioned Highlands Farm, and I think Highlands Farm has come up with a really good offer, which is good for this town and also Harpsome as well. And that's probably one of the reasons why we've chosen Highlands Farm. So I hear what you're saying, but I think the committed feeling is that site is just absolutely ideal for housing there. You can just walk into town; it's absolutely superb, and that's why we've carried on supporting that piece of land there. But I think it's your decision at the end of the day what you wish to do. And let me just finish. If you prefer the land to sit there for another 5 years, that's entirely up to you. If an examiner comes along and suggests that we should change it, okay, we'd have to have a look at that.
Yeah, but I think what was discussed at the last meeting was that if the site was undeliverable, it would have to be either reallocated or removed from the neighbourhood plan. And I just wanted to confirm today to the committee verbally that it will remain unavailable for the next 5-year period. So if it can't be reallocated, does that therefore mean it will be removed from the neighbourhood plan, and then all of the other issues we're talking about have to be dealt with through the normal planning process?
I would say that would be up to the next review in 2.5 years' time, or 2 years' time, once this has been adopted. I think that it will be for the next committee to make that decision. It won't be for this committee. We're going into debate now, rather than just questions. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. This gentleman at the back, do you wish to speak?
I'm observing.
You're not.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Move on to item. My glasses have just fallen apart. So I'm going to do one. And these are brand new actually as well, which is a bit annoying. Right, look through one eye. Item 4 to approve the notes of the meeting on the 15th of November 2021. Sorry, you don't want to speak?
Not proposed, yeah, I'd like to speak.
Yeah, go
I'd like to propose an amendment for the benefit of the public. Of those who responded to the consultation, almost half favoured the removal of billets.
on. Well, can I just stop you there? Look, basically what we're asking, are these a true reflection of what took place in the meeting?
Yeah, I'm saying that they're not a full account of what happened at the meeting. And I think the consultation responses deserve an acknowledgement and an explanation in the minutes of why. I know Gillet's filled with it outvoted, that's fine, but I think the people who wished to have it removed were sufficiently numerous and cogent that if they want to find out the outcome of the consultation, or anyone else wants to find the outcome of the consultation, they will tend to look at the minutes of the subsequent committee meeting. And therefore I'm saying that I'm suggesting that the minutes include a statement to that effect and an explanation of why Gillet's field was not removed from the list.
Well, I'll put it to the committee in a minute, but I have responded to you on that, David, and basically saying that all the documentation of the responses and the question that Jodie made will all go forward to the examiner. All the information will be there. To write another few lines in the minutes it's not going to achieve anything in my opinion. But if you wish to give some specific word in what you would like to be included, you can get a second for that, and then we take a vote on it.
Okay, well, it would be something along the lines of.
Well, whereabouts are you talking about? Which item first of all? Which minute number?
Minute number 7, is it? The notes. Yeah.
I think we need the series of report from the planning officer. That's in the minutes. So that's the minutes of the meeting.
Right.
And Jodie gave the report. So
Yeah.
are you saying that you want Jodie to include a note that in spite of the fact that your words, not mine?
Okay.
So
So,
which minute are you referring to start?
Some Jodie's notes.
So Jodie's notes 13.1 update from planning officer.
Where do you wish what you're proposing to go in, David? On what item?
well, at the end, we can say the consultation resulted in so many, 70 odd, I think, responses from the public, of which almost half
Is that
opposed
your
the-
view, it's almost half, or is that a fact?
That's a fact. No disagree.
I actually have a suggestion that I said in my update in the next agenda item, because I didn't actually say that. So I want to put it in the minutes.
Can't minute something that wasn't said.
No,
We did, the reason that we didn't, when we discussed it last time, I think, obviously, most of us agreed it probably, we would like to have it taken out, but due to various legal matters, we obviously voted to keep it in. So we could at least write one sentence that summarises, although public mood suggests the removal, legality and other prevents it from doing so. Something so at least the public have the same gist that we felt, or that some people felt here and that the public represents. Is that what you?
Yes, I don't think the public have received a full explanation of the committee's decision, and I think
But if we're going to do this, David, we had a bit of forgiveness. Did we have a piece in for all the other sites we discussed as well?
well, no, because they weren't controversial in the consultation, were Well,
Well, the
they?
general.
Pilot farm was.
Give me some words which you'd like to go in there, which you think was said at the meeting.
Well, the results of the consultation, which was responded to by 70 members of the public, of whom about half opposed the inclusion of Gillett's Field in the preferred list of preferred sites. If they or anyone else wanted to find the outcome of the consultation, they would naturally look in the minutes of the meeting. So I propose.
Yeah, David, that's not the wording though. I want wording that was said at the meeting. Never mind
Well,
what
I can.
Should we put it on email?
Mr. Chairman, I think it's unfair to ask for drafting in the meeting. The point was made loud and clear, and I think it should be reflected in the minutes.
So just give me some wording that we can put in there.
We'll move it to email and send it across.
Let's-
Otherwise we'll be here for 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'm quite happy to send it by email.
We could do it by email and then we could consider it at the next meeting.
Yeah.
That would be easy.
Right, other than that, does anybody else wish to put anything out on the minutes? Can I? No. Are you going to mention anything about Gillett's?
I'll propose to move to
Well,
that.
no, because you've already mentioned
No,
it.
I'm
I'm not going to take anything else on Gillett's here, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Councillor Clark was present at the meeting, but he's not listed on the attendees. So I propose we add Councillor Clark to the list of attendees.
is that what you wanted to say?
About the Gillett's, the
No.
3,200 people signed the petition.
No,
to keep
no,
that
no,
green.
no, I'm not interested in that answer.
Or
I'm
to
sorry,
the
I'm not
population.
interested in that.
I'll second Councillor.
Okay, so we'll accept that. I think you'll send an email with some word into Kath and Jodie.
Yeah.
That we're prepared, that we will propose to put in the minutes of the previous meeting.
Okay.
Are you happy with that? Thank you. Other than that, all in favour of the minutes?
With the addition of.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. Right. Item 5, update on planning officer. I'll pass over to you, Jodie.
Yeah, so it's the last committee, met 2 weeks ago. the regulation 14 consultation ended, and that was on the 16th of November. All the representations received have now been responded to, and this is all included within the consultation statement, which has been available on the joint Henley and Harpston Neighbourhood Plan website since last Wednesday. The plan and supporting information have been updated in line with these comments, where it's deemed to be appropriate. We'll discuss most of this under the next agenda item, so I've kept it brief, but let me know if there's any comments or questions. Thank you.
The questions for Jodie. David.
Well, one question is, have the individual responders to the consultation received an individual response, or are they expected to look on the website?
Yeah, they're included within the consultation statement. They haven't individually been responded to.
No, so they don't necessarily know it's there.
Well, no, we could publicise the fact that it's out there and every response has been commented on, but it would be a large task, and it's not needed through regulations to do that. So we've done that, but
No,
we can
okay.
promote the fact that we have responded to each comment in the consultation statement. Yeah,
I think they ought to be pointed in that direction.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
One other thing, I noticed in the responses that 4 homes have clearly indicated their wish to build on Drawback Hill, Lucy's Farm, and they obviously regard Gillett as a step in that direction. So this does confirm the views of Dominic Bertelli and his 2,000 signatories, that there is a serious risk to Drawback Hill, maybe not at the present moment, but looking to the future, there certainly is. That's just an observation.
Okay, any other questions?
Chair, could we be excused?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Right, item 6, the joint Henley Harpston Neighbourhood Plan 2020 to 2035 and supporting documents. So this is all on your agenda papers. I'll go through these one at a time. And the first one obviously is, and I'll ask Jodie to speak to each one. So if anybody wants to ask any questions, all this information is on the website, I believe. So you've had the chance to get onto there and read anything on these items. But I'll ask Jodie just to go through them one at a time. So the first one is the plan, which is attached to your agenda papers. Jodie.
Yeah, so this starts on page 12 of the agenda. The plan, as I've just said, has been updated following representations received in Regulation 14 consultation. And all of that is set out in the consultation statement. You'll note since last time we met that Oxfordshire County Council have responded, and that's included in full alongside the Natural England and the AOB Children's Board responses in the consultation statements, and we provided comments for each of those individually. I'm not going to go into details unless there's the committee want to discuss that in more detail. I have had some minor changes proposed by Councillor George in terms of the content section of the plan from Harpston. So I'd just like to go through those, and I would suggest that these look to be fine in terms of the changes. They're factual and they're minor in their content, so I would be happy with these. Thank you.
Do you want to, this is your paper, Kester, that you sent to,
Yes.
to Jodie. Everybody's got a copy.
Can I just ask a question before you
Yeah.
go on to that? Could you tell me the date of these other documents, baseline report, environmental? I've got loads of papers from last time, I don't think they're still relevant. The baseline report is which date?
So the baseline report has been updated and
So the original, I've got one at 215, it's been updated since.
yeah, it's been revised.
And
The
so,
environmental report is the same, so that's just got a new cover page.
They've all got pre-submission draft.
No,
Submission draft,
submission.
submission draft December 2021.
just that they're all, yeah, so mine are, I can throw all those away.
They're all going to be like this eventually. Yeah. Anyway, all the items that Kester's put forward, are we prepared to accept those on what? I'm not sure if Harpston is exactly a smaller place than it used to be.
Still pretty much so.
Okay.
I'm pending the decision on Thames Farm.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's for sure.
I've never seen older used in context of flooding. I thought that was quite fun.
Right, so I propose that we accept all these changes. Yeah, okay, seconded, all in favour. Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Could we at this time, obviously the gentleman up front on Crossways, could we discuss Crossways? Okay. You've obviously heard the submission by Mr. Farmer. Does anybody wish to make any comments on what he's mentioned today?
I'd like to add one observation.
Yeah.
In terms of selection of sites, and that is that, as you pointed out earlier on in the meeting, the selection of Highlands is as much to do with the amenity that we as a neighbourhood plan area will get from the site as to the actual allocation of houses itself. And that includes the affordable, the potential for social, the community centre, and also landscaping that will go on around it. So I think that,
And the employment side.
and the employment side as well. So I think there's a lot that site gives that no other smaller site can give. And I think that should be borne in mind when if we consider revising any allocation before we do it, that what we would potentially be losing if we took that out and then started allocating other sites. The other concern I have is that we've gone to consultation with the sites we have, and a major revision might set us back significantly, and therefore we would miss the due dates for putting this plan in place.
Kester.
I'd just like to add to that, that although Highlands Farm was in the AONB, the building that was forced upon us by the central government already has taken away any such merit from the site that is now up for consideration of 110 dwellings, so that it's very misleading to quote the defence of the AONB in that context.
No, sorry. Sorry.
State
Yeah,
that,
Jodie.
the reasons that the site selection group recommended for not allocating or set out in the baseline report, and the responses you've seen is in the consultation statement, just to that sets it out comprehensively rather than going through.
The application actually did come in front of Henley Town Council's planning committee last Tuesday, and the observation was for refusal. Have you seen all the refusal reasons for that we put forward?
I haven't seen that yet. So no.
Would you like to read those out? You've got that. Right. Has it come before Harpston, Kester?
Yes, it has, and we refused it too, but I'd be very interested to hear Henry's reason.
It's quite long, we won't go into the policies. The reasons for refusal lies on the edge of the settlement ship lake, which is designated as small village in the local plan. Strat 1 of the local plan directs development in the district to 4 main towns. Doesn't accord with the strategy for new housing development plan, doesn't constitute sustainable development. It goes on. It's not chosen as a preferred site in the neighbourhood plan. It's not considered to be in infill within the built-up limit of the settlement. There's also concerns about transport and traffic and impact on the character of the area. But in terms of actual strategy and policies, the first part of that.
If you go to the town council's website, look under the last planning meetings, all the detail will be there.
Thank you. Am I allowed to comment at all on that? Let's move it. Would that be of assistance to you?
Go for it.
Thank you.
It's not going to be too long.
Please be aware that the policy 16 of the local plan is related to the smaller villages, and that is effectively a permissive policy that does allow for development at the edges if it falls within the definition of infill. There are two definitions of infill. One is between a gap and a built-up frontage. The second is where you have a site that is surrounded by development. ACON have confirmed that the lower Crossways ownership website does conform with that definition of infill, and therefore could be supported in local plan terms. Second point is, by comparison to the 20 units, this is a proposal for almost half the number of units. And that, from a character point of view, does answer the previous concerns in terms of the character of the area and the transition from a more denser scheme to the north to a less denser graded development to the south. The ability to keep the woodland belt along the Reading Road is now entirely secured with this amended scheme. The issues over Strat 1 and not being sustainable development. I'm not sure there was a sustainable development objection to the previous larger scheme, but that in some context does conflict with what the neighbourhood plan is seeking, say Highlands Farm, because that doesn't support, that's not.
Yeah, I don't want
Strat 1.
seriously. I
It's
don't
really
want
consistent. Yeah. But it is a far better and more sensitive proposal.
You're not going to ask any questions similar to the last one.
No, my main concern is the access into that site.
Yeah, okay. We're not going to get into a debate on this.
No,
That's fine. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Does anybody wish to make a motion to put this forward or not? I see that. Sorry. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, any other questions on the plan? Okay, the next one we'll go to is the baseline report, which is submission there is obviously page 12 to 110 on your agenda. Speak to that.
Just to say that this is the evidence base to support the plan, and it goes through to the policies and looking at the documentation of the evidence that's come about. Drafting those, this has been updated and the most up to date on the website. Any questions?
I was going to refer actually to, unfortunately, they've gone about the care home. There's half a page about care homes here, which I feel is totally against what they were suggesting. And so all the information is in there. I mentioned the amount of beds, going on to 2022, etc., etc. Plus there's other information around here as well. But and that's the committee's view. Any questions on the baseline report? Okay. Item 3, the environmental report. Okay.
So yeah, this was produced by ACON. This was produced for the regulation submission consultation, forms part of the evidence base. An SEA is a mechanism for considering and communicating the likely effects of the emerging plan and its alternatives. And the environmental report forms part of that. This is informed the consultation and the plan. So yeah, this is key evidence.
Okay, the policies there go from page 23 onwards down to 34. Any comments on that one? No? Okay. The next item is item 4, the consultation statement. 620 pages of this somewhere hidden on the website.
Yeah, so this sets out the process of the consultation that's been undertaken in preparing the plan and has been formed the submission version of the plan. It sets out all of the public engagement activities to date, and there's all representations and comments received that form part of the appendices. Any questions?
Which part of the 620 pages would anybody like to speak to? No? Okay, move on to item 5, basic conditions statement.
So yeah, this is prepared also to go alongside the plan. Only a draft neighbourhood plan that meets each of the set basic conditions can be put to referendum and be made. This is applying Planning Act 1990. And yeah, this document sets out how each of the policies meets the basic conditions statement, including the sites.
Any comment on that one?
I'm very glad we've got Jodie
I'm going to refer to this in a minute. Actually. Right, the final one is item 6, statement of proposed modifications to be made to the joint Henley and Hertfordshire neighbourhood plan.
Yeah, so this is required because we've got an existing plan in place. So we need to provide a statement of proposed modifications, looking at whether they're significant enough to change the nature of the plan. And that's all set out within that statement. Thank you.
Anybody? I think we should, this is a time we should thank Jodie and obviously Kath as well, but mainly Jodie has been working on this weekend rather than just in a 5-day week. And yeah, thanks for that, Jodie. Yeah, appreciate it.
Jodie's on holiday from next Wednesday. Once this is passed at full council.
No, it's miles of work on it. It's unbelievable, man. If nobody ever has to do it again.
We will. 2 years time.
With somebody else. Well, I've got no other items on there, so anybody just make any comments about myself. Okay, yeah. Okay, so I propose that we accept all items on 1 to 6. I propose we accept all of those as seconded by Lawrence. All in favour of those? That's unanimous. Thank you.
Resolved to recommend full council.
What was that? That was on page.
Page 11.
Yeah, there's a recommendation here, 5.1 on page 11, recommended that the committee resolve to recommend to full council that the neighbourhood plan and supporting documentation is submitted to Oxford District Council. That will take place next Tuesday. Is that to what time is the meeting?
7.
At 7 o'clock next Wednesday. Okay,
Next
so
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Not like it's Tuesday every week.
So I would propose that from the chair, seconded by Lawrence. Anybody wish to speak to that? Okay, all in favour? Thank you. That's agreed. Right, we'll move on to item 7, budget. So item 7, budget, I'll pass this one over to Kath. It's on pages 111 to 113.
So this just lists as item 3 on page 112, the expenditure to date and the remaining budget we have from the SIL funds allocated from both Parkston Parish Council and from Henley Town Council towards the marketing and communication costs. So we're looking at a current balance of £4,734 remaining. I'm not really sure what further expenses we'll have. Jodie and I may need to discuss what we think, but I don't think we've probably got anything that major to come, which is why I haven't put a forthcoming section. I'd also like to draw your attention to item 3.3, where we have to pay £3,500 towards the update, or for the update of the transport study from 2015. This was something that was requested by Oxfordshire County Council, so that we could use the bulk of what was in the 2015 transport study as evidence for our neighbourhood plan with just this addendum report. This was carried out and due to the time constraints was taken from the Town Council's professional fees budget. I'd now like to suggest that this can be transferred from the Town Council's SIL receipts, together with a sum of £164 for accident data that we got separately from OCC to try and move that along faster for Stantec to produce the report. The Town Council has a currently unallocated SIL balance of £131,276. So if we can recommend that to Planning Committee, then Planning Committee can consider that that money is taken from SIL in December.
Yeah. David.
With regard to future expenditure, you say 700 and something balance remains. Surely there's going to be a major cost of printing the documents of the plan and supporting documents for circulation. I say presumably one for the office here, one for the library. The Henley Society, I'm sure, will be very glad to have a copy, and maybe other organisations would like a copy. So who's going to pay for the printing, and does that come out of the 780?
Oh, it's 4,734. Well, Jodie and I were just discussing this very briefly. We're not sure that over the next few months we'll need to print anything. We put the documents on the website, the SODC, and Sheridan sends them an email to say we're submitting those documents, and then we just wait for them to come back.
Yeah.
So, and then they consider it, and the examiner will consider it. But I mean, so we may want to print some copies.
I'm thinking of the final draft.
Yes.
Final copy.
Or final copy, yes. Yes, possibly next spring, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I think not in the immediate months.
Patrick.
Will there be any costs relating to the referendum?
I believe SODC has to cover that.
Good. Get something.
Yeah, let's wait until all this has gone through the examiner, and once hopefully it's agreed. Because I only read the other day, I'm not sure who sent it to me. I'm not sure if you sent it to me, Mr. Bond, actually, about the examiner's question of the previous plan that was put forward. And it's an amazing amount of changes that he is that you sent me that?
Might have been so, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I hadn't seen it before. And it was amazing the amount of changes the examiner did make. So obviously someone is obviously doing their job there, that's for sure. But I do think that everybody around the table should have a copy of the final report. If the town council and Long Hartson have to pay for that, I think we should do. I think for 3.5 years' work, I think at least you should have a copy of the final document anyway. Sorry?
Maybe not the consultation.
Okay.
No. At 660 pages.
Yeah, we can get that. Okay, so I've got a resolution to resolve to recommend to the planning committee that £3,500 is taken from the seal to fund the required update to the transport study for the neighbourhood plan, £64 for accident data for the report from OCC, and that's 5.2 of the agenda. I'll propose that. Seconded by Jackie. All those in favour of that? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Item 8, next steps. Jodie?
Yeah, so I'll make those 9 changes suggested by the council into the plan. I think that's the only thing. This will then be considered by special full council next Tuesday, 7 PM, and then hopefully that will then be submitted on next Wednesday, the 8th of December. This will then be given to SODC for application and a further 6-week consultation after that. And then that will be before considers the plan.
Anybody wish to add any items to next steps? No? Okay. The last item, item 9, next meeting. We suggested Monday the 31st of January at 3 PM, or earlier or later, as may be needed when this comes back or has to go, or may come back from SODC. So I propose the 31st of January as it stands at the moment, at 3 PM. I've got no other items on the agenda. Thank you for giving up your 3.5 years to get to this point, and hopefully it will be accepted. It's gone back to support to SODC a number of times, so we're very in line with the majority of it. And happy Christmas to everybody.